GMFB territory. We have a brand new segment to try out on everybody today. It sounds like the perfect time to do it. We're going to go 4 down territory. We're ripping through 4 topics. Everyone's got to have a take, as Jane mentioned. And our first, of course, we got to start in Cleveland with the quarterback room. It's just the lowest hanging fruit. The Browns entered this offseason working out 5 quarterbacks on their roster after drafting both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders in the 3rd and the 5th round, respectively. Their offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees, says the quarterback room has pretty good competition so far.
I mean, yeah, you can see them all winning the job, I think, right? And so in terms of the competition, we're so early in the process. We're so early in evaluating it. But yeah, I think, we have a good group of guys that continue to push one another. And by the time September rolls around, we'll be ready to go.
I'm supposed to say, it's written here, there's been a lot of buzz around Shedeur. I mean, that's like the underestimation of the century right now. All we sometimes could talk about over draft weekend was Shedeur Sanders. And then you put him into this Browns quarterback room, and immediately they jump to the front of the class in terms of most interesting storyline heading into training camp. But is it? That is the question, Jane. Browns quarterback room, is it the most interesting storyline to you heading into training camp?
Liz, I had the Saints draft, which, of course, they needed a quarterback leading up to this. And then you've got one of the more curious storylines that I've covered in my 10 years here at the NFL Network, and that was Carr coming out the week before telling us that he's dealing with this shoulder situation, he had the wrist situation, and then they don't know what they're getting down there. And so, yeah, there was a thought that Shedeur Sanders might fall to them in the 2nd round. Instead, they take Tyler Shough. So let's talk about the quarterback room, because for me, the Saints is the most intriguing, Jamie.
Yes.
I mean, this was a 5-12 team. You've got Shough coming in here who, look, he's a rookie. They took him in the 2nd round. He played 42 games across 7 years. So he's dealing with some injury. Last year, Cynthia and I were talking about this last night. Well, he at least played all of last season, right? But you don't really know what you're getting from him. Spencer Rattler had real live game experience. This was a guy that had 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a passer rating, 70.4, not exactly something to write home about. And then after that, you've got Jake Haener, and then they went out and got a guy from Iowa Western Community College, this Hunter Deckers kid. Basically, what I'm saying is we've got a lot of questions. There doesn't seem like there is a clear guy there. And then that's what has me wondering if, as you look at, if we get into training camp, are they going to bring in a veteran?
Yeah.
So that, for me, is the most intriguing.
At least when we list off the names in the Cleveland quarterback room, we know them. Yes. I have a hard time with Hunter Deckers. I didn't know that about Iowa Western Community College. We might find out. He might get the Kurt Warner treatment. You never know. Kelsey Conway, what do you got? Is it the Browns or is it something else?
So the question was the most interesting storyline heading into training camp. And the reason I say no is because I think it could be the most interesting storyline at the end of the season. But right now, just looking at the fact that they went out and signed Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco is still there on the team, and then them drafting Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round, for me, I just don't see a scenario in which he beats out all 3 of them by week 1. But having covered the AFC North now for 4 years, there's always something interesting that goes on in Cleveland, typically by the end of the season. So if you asked me, is this going to be the most interesting storyline of the NFL season, I could maybe say yes, because I do think there is a scenario in which he could make waves by the end of the season, but not heading into training camp, simply just because of the 3 guys in front of him on the depth chart.
I just also wonder if there's a little bit of Cleveland Brown quarterback fatigue. I feel like every year we head into training camp
give it to
in
somebody
the last
else.
couple of seasons. That is an interesting storyline. So maybe that's why it's not top of mind, at least for me.
It's a good point.
Well, the storyline that we heard last year, I think actually is great this year too, but just different team, potentially different player, and that's Aaron Rodgers. It's good. It is. Are we really going to go with Mason Rudolph there? You invested in DK. You brought in an absolute, that's a real wide receiver that you have real intentions for, and now you don't necessarily you're trusting handshake decision. Probably. Is that going to be what happens? I don't know. Right?
Well, when are you going to install the offense too, right, Cynthia? I mean, isn't this
Does he really need that?
He might not, but
he might have his wide receivers.
Yeah. So to me, this one again, you have an aging defense, but still a great defense. You have a guy who's never had a losing season in Mike Tomlin. So are you really going? Is it really going to be Mason Rudolph? No one believes that. But you're waiting on this handshake, and I think yet again, Aaron Rodgers has us with bated breath. we need to talk about
The
it.
Steelers are in a funk, and it's like that awkward, we love being 500, we make it to the playoffs, we don't make it very far in the playoffs funk, and you have to imagine Mike Tomlin wants to work his way out of that. All right, let's turn to the AFC East. In the spirit of making sure we understand everything that's going on in the NFL, we understood that in terms of tabloid photos, Josh Allen got married last weekend, apparently. The Buffalo Bills quarterback returned to practice fresh off his wedding last weekend. Congratulations to them.